Hello and welcome to Frostbites podcast. My name is Minna and you can find me as Finfrost on Ravelry and on Instagram. And this is my podcast about sewing and knitting, mostly about knitting. I'm coming to you from my home in northern Finland, and today is the 21st of April, I think. And spring has finally arrived. The snow has started melting. We've had quite a few sunny and fairly warm days, warm meaning above zero. And today I think it's 5 degrees centigrade, and we still have a lot of snow, not quite as steep as knee-high, but still quite a lot. But the roads are mainly clear from snow, and yesterday I got my summer tires changed into my car, and yeah, I think it will be more sunny and warmer towards summer. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to warmer weather. I loved seeing pictures from Central Europe where people seem to be wearing short skirts and shorts and t-shirts, and it's a bizarre feeling for me. I can't imagine what it feels like to be in that kind of warm weather, but hopefully we can enjoy that in, I'm gonna say, a couple of months. It will take some time to warm up that much. Anyway, it's been a long time since I last recorded an episode, like a normal episode. You might have seen my EYF preparations for the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and also my EYF vlog. And since then I haven't had time or energy to film an episode. I caught a cold or a flu a bit over a week ago, and I still do have it, and I'm not feeling 100%, but this afternoon I thought that now that I have time and a bit more energy, I will film this episode because it's been such a long time. So I hope you enjoy, and I want to welcome all new viewers. I noticed that there were quite a few of you who subscribed since my last episode, so welcome. I hope you like what you see, and if you do, please hit the thumbs up button, and also if you haven't subscribed yet and would like to know when my episodes come up, hit the subscribe button. I don't have a regular schedule for my podcast. I only do it when I have time, and usually it is around once a month or maybe every 3 weeks, but sometimes you might have to wait a little longer. Enough talking. Now we can move on to the regular content. I see I'm a bit rusty. Let's start with my FOs. I have a couple of finished objects, and actually the first one you have already seen, and I think I have spoken about it, but not in a great detail. This is my Telia sweater by Jennifer Steingas, which I finished a good while ago. I wore this at Edinburgh, so it must have been around start of March, I think, when I finished it, or late February. It's a yoke sweater. I think the size that I made is small, and I used 100% fin sheep wool, which I bought from my trip to Northern Karelia in eastern Finland last autumn. I bought natural white, natural grey or brownish grey, and then natural black. And some of the whites I dyed with natural or plant dyes. The green one is from birch leaves, and then the orange and the pink are from madderroot. And those were my first experiments in natural dyeing, and I'm very pleased with the way this sweater turned out. I had a little bit of a hassle with my other sleeve when I was knitting this up. It's a bottom-up construction, and I had knitted both sleeves, and I attached them to the body, and I had gone past a few rows. Now that I'm explaining this, I think I might have talked about this and shown you the finished project. I'm not sure, or was it when I was working on it? But anyway, it's been such a long time that maybe none of you remember it anymore. So when I was attaching the sleeves, or when I had attached the sleeves, I then afterwards realized that one of them I had attached the wrong way, so that the decreases, which are supposed to be underarm, were actually here on top of the arm, and you can't have that. So I had to fix that, and I had a couple of alternatives. The other one would have been to unravel. I had gone past the point probably about 10 rows or something like that. Not too much, but still a little bit into the color work section, and I really didn't want to unravel the whole of the whole rows in the yoke where the mistake was only in the sleeve. So I ended up cutting the yarn just below the armhole, and I unraveled one row or one round, and then I rotated the sleeve to the way that it was supposed to be, and then I grafted one round so that it would be turned the way that it should be, and it worked. It worked really well, and now I don't think you can see at all where the mistake, or there's no mistake anymore, but I don't think you can see where I have grafted it. I'm pretty sure it's this sleeve, and you could see it before blocking. The tension on the grafting row was just a little bit off, but when I soaked it and blocked it and have been wearing this a lot, it has evened out and you really can't tell. I think I pretty much did the whole sweater according to the pattern, and I really like the increases that she uses for the sleeves. The sweater has peeled quite a lot, so I'm not sure if you can see them, but they look really neat. It's not your usual make one where you pick up the strand between the two stitches and knit that. It's a bit different. It's a paid for pattern, so I won't be telling you all the details, but I really like how it looks. And like it said in the pattern, this way is the most invisible way of doing that. It has been a perfect piece in the cold weather that we've had, and in this kind of weather that we have now is the perfect weather for a sweater without the jacket, so it can be the outer layer. And when it gets a bit more warm, then I can't wear it anymore. But I have already worn it a lot, so I'm really happy that I was able to finish it before the weather got warmer. Then my next finished object is my piece of silver sweater by Veera Välimäki, which I started just before going to Edinburgh Yarn Festival, because I thought that this would be easy enough a project to take with me to the festival and to be able to knit on it in the social events. This is a sweater from Line magazine, issue 2, I think, and I knitted it in La Bien Amé's merino twist sock, which is 20% superwash merino and no, 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon. It's got a high twist, and I had 2 different colorways. The orange one is called Rust, and the grey speckled one is called Driftwood Graffiti. And I chose to do the color in different color because I wasn't sure if I had enough yarn for the whole sweater. And I had bought both these colorways in order to make a striped sweater, but then I thought that it would work for this one as well, and it does, I think. I also added a little stripe on the end of the ribbing in the sleeves, just to tie it in with the collar. And I made the size S, and I think I did it according to the pattern, other than it's just the color change that I added. What I realized knitting this sweater, which I've sort of known before, but now I just made the decision, but that from now on, whenever there are short rows in the pattern, like in the neck shaping or something, and it calls for a wrap and turn short row, I really shouldn't be using that because it's just not working for me. I just can't get it to look nice and even. I've tried it on several projects and it always looks sloppy. I either have the wrap too loose or too tight, but it's never as it should be. And in here you can probably see in this area and also on this other side, the short rows are just not looking as neat as the rest of the sweater. I had to go in the wrong side and try to pull some of the stitches tighter and then try to weave them in. And it made it a little bit better, but I'm still not 100% happy with it. So I just have to remember from now on that I need to use the German short rows for this kind of construction. I don't think it matters that much in this kind of yarn. The speckles kind of hide it, but still it bothers me a little bit because I know that they are not perfect. But otherwise, I really, really like this sweater. It's very comfortable to wear. I think it's a wardrobe staple. You can wear it with jeans, and because it's a cropped hem, you can also easily wear it with skirts, and it's very soft. The yarn is just beautiful. Something I noticed about the yarn is that the orange color seems a tiny bit more rough. It's not rough as in woolly wool, but it's got more structure or something in it. It's not quite as soft as the speckled yarn, even though it's supposed to be the same base. And I even noticed the difference when I was knitting it. So it's not just the stitch pattern. It might have an impact on how it feels because it's ripped, and that gives it more structure. But even on a skein, and even when I was knitting it, it felt a bit harder. I don't know why that is, if it's the dye or was it in fact a bit different to begin with. But it's supposed to be the same base, so I don't know what happened there. But all in all, it's a lovely sweater, and I've been wearing this one as well quite a lot since I finished it. It's quite warm. It's getting a bit too warm with the turtleneck. And it will be perfect for autumn because of the colors. Excuse me. Then somewhere in between finished objects and works in progress, I have this hat that I designed and made right after Edinburgh Yarn Festival. I think it's inspired by the Shetland Wool Week hats that they publish each year. And I also wanted to try the Jamieson and Smith yarns that I bought from Scotland, but I think I'm going to rip back the crown decreases and re-knit it, as it often happens because I'm a very tight knitter, and especially with color work. This turned out to be just a tiny bit too small. It's very tight. I can fit it in my head, but it feels a bit tight. I haven't blocked it yet, so I wonder if I should block it first. But it's also a little bit too short, so I think before blocking I will unravel it a little bit, knit a few rows more before I start decreasing, and maybe not do the decreases quite as rapidly as I did here. But I really like how the colors work. I really enjoyed knitting it. The yarn is just perfect for color work. It's grippy, but it's soft. And the selection of colorways is just mind-blowing. and I'm hoping to write a pattern for this as well. I know I've said that a few times that I'm planning to write a pattern for something, and I haven't yet. I've been really busy with a lot of test knitting, and I had probably 1.5 months without any deadlines, so that's when I knit this one up, and I started. What did I do? I also made this one during that time and finished my Delia sweater, and I started my arboreal, which I will show you soon. I wanted to do some just for fun knitting in between, and writing patterns is always a bit of a struggle for me. The writing itself is not difficult, but it's just the starting. I'd rather be knitting that time. So I think when I'm not as busy at work and in my other hobbies, I will take a day and take my computer to a nice cafe and just sit down and write the patterns. But right now I don't feel like doing it, and I don't want to put pressure on myself on anything that is knitting related. So the pattern will come when it comes, and also there's no rush in writing this because summer is not really the season for hats, I don't think. So maybe in the autumn I will have a pattern for this. And because I don't really like long floats, that was the basic idea behind this hat, to have short floats. I did this really cute swatch before I started working on this, and I really like how it looks like. I changed the color combinations in this one a little bit, so the swatch isn't exactly what you have here. But it's really nice to just play with the colors, and in this one I can actually show you the yarns that I used. These are all the colorways that I used. So when I was choosing the colors in Edinburgh, I decided to have like darks and then lights, and actually the green and the yellow are more like a bonus colors, or just some little contrast colors to the overall color scheme. But I wanted to have blues and reds, and both somehow in darker and lighter colors. And I chose these darker ones for the background, and lighter ones, of course, as the color for the actual patterns. And when I combined them, I wanted to use, how can I explain this? I wanted to use the lighter color and the darker color so that they would have, like, this is a purple with more red, so I chose it as a background for the pink, and then this one has more blue shades in it, so I chose it as a background for the light blue. And then also this is more of a brownish color, but I think it also has some red or pink tones, so I paired it with this one. And then these were just random additions to that. So the background where the color work happens, the background colors also change, even though it might look that there is only one color or maybe two colors in the background, but it's changing according to what the pattern color is, if that makes any sense. And then on top of the hat, where the crown decreases are happening, I have striped it first with the background colors and then with the pattern colors. And then the ribbing and the very end of the crown is using just one color. So that has been in the works, and those were part of my EYF haul, which I will talk more about in the end of this episode. And here is the tag for the Jameson and Smith. It's the 2-ply jumper weight yarn, which is 100% Shetland wool. And then we can move on to my works in progress. I already mentioned my arboreal sweater, which has been advancing quite nicely. I have finished the body. It's also a design by Jennifer Steingass, and I am using my local dyer's Knitlop Layers Louhittaren Luolas Kaino yarn, which is her 100% Kainu grey base. Kainu grey is one of the native sheep breeds in Finland, and it's a rare breed. And I have never knitted with Kainu grey before, and I just love it. It's so buttery soft. It's still rustic, woolly wool, but it's so soft. And this one was hibernating for a bit while I was knitting on my piece of silver, and when I took this out of the project bag to continue knitting on it, it was a lovely surprise to realize how wonderful the yarn is. I've been really enjoying knitting on it. But I didn't realize that I was playing yarn chicken. I finished this first sleeve, and I have only a little bit. I don't think I have the yarn here with me, but I have still some left from the skein that I used for the sleeves, or the first sleeve, and I was going through a knit night, and I thought that this would be perfect for the knit night, and I realized that I have to take my last skein with me to be able to finish or start on the second sleeve. And I was rummaging through all my yarn baskets and everywhere. I was looking for the last grey skein that I thought that I had, but as it turns out, or at least I haven't found any, so I think I only had 3 skeins of this grey one instead of the 4 that I thought that I had. I think I have used 3 now. So I don't have the yarn anymore. So the next day I sent an email for Tuulia, who is the dyer behind the Louhittaren Luolas yarn, asking whether she has still the same. Luckily it's the undyed yarn that I ran out of. So I asked if she had yarn from the same batch as this one, and I knew when and where I bought this, and I received a reply from her, and she thinks that she still has the same batch left, and I'm going to her knit night next Saturday, so I will be able to buy one more skein from her. So fingers crossed it will be the same color. I'm not sure how they do this yarn. I think it might be a blend, but maybe not, because kind of grey is supposed to be a grey sheep, I think. So maybe it is the natural shade and not a mixed color. I hope so. The yarn is full of plant matter, and when I was knitting on this, the carpet right next to the chair where I was knitting on it was always full of bits and pieces of grass and hay, because I was just picking them from the yarn as I went, and I just threw them on the floor. And yeah, it feels very natural in that way too. The contrast with the main color and the color work is not a very high one, but I think even though it's very subtle, it is beautiful. And especially in the sun, it just looks like the yellow glows so beautifully. So hopefully I will be able to continue this very soon. And lately I haven't really minded knitting on sleeves. I don't know what it is, but it just feels that they knit up a lot quicker than they used to. It might also be because I'm using a bit thicker yarn. And then I have one more whip that I can show you, and it is just a very basic sock. I am using Regia Schachenmeier Regia 4-ply sock yarn, which is their design line by Arne and Carlos. And I am making this, I think, for my dad. I'm making it in a bigger size, and I just need to have my dad try these on at some stage to see if the width is okay. I'm using the Vanilla is the New Black heel. Otherwise I'm not following any pattern. I have cast on 64 stitches instead of 60, which I do for myself. And the cuff turned out to be a bit longer than I intended. I always forget that this heel always makes the sock longer, because it's a little bit longer than a normal heel flap would be, I think. At least the one I make is usually shorter, and also an afterthought heel is also shorter. So it is a little bit longer. I just hope that the top part is not too tight for that. If it is, then I will have to find a foot that fits in it. And this has been my in-between project, my mindless project, when I have needed something like that. Those are all of my projects that I can share. I am again working on one test knit, and I should be already starting another one as well. So those will keep me busy, and I will share them later when I can. I will, as I said, I will show you my EYF haul and talk about the yarns a bit more. You have seen the haul already in my vlog from Edinburgh, but due to public demand, I will be showing you the yarn and talk about them a bit more. So if you are interested in that, that will be my last topic. But before I go to the yarn, I will show you the fabric that I bought from Edinburgh. I wanted to get some Harris tweed when I'm there for a skirt, and I found a shop called Edinburgh Fabrics, which was maybe about 10 minutes by bus from the old town where I was staying in. And I bought this turquoise blue, which seems to be the color of all my sewing projects right now. You might remember my deer dress that I sewed earlier, and then now I'm also working on a dress in linen, which is a bit similar to this color. It's an interesting fabric. I don't have it here with me because I left it at the school, but the weft and what do you call the other one? Oh, I don't really remember the words. Anyway, you know what I mean. The weft color is different than the one that goes across. So there's a purple and then this turquoise bluish greenish color in that fabric. And then now I bought this one to make a skirt out of. So I am for some reason drawn to this color in my sewing projects. And I really don't have a plan of what kind of skirt it will be. It will be above my knee, I think, and maybe have a couple of pleats, or then be just a normal A-line skirt. I am not sure how much, if I have enough fabric to do the pleats, but we'll see when I get the first the dress finished, and then I will start working on this one. And for my sewing, nowadays I usually just sew on my sewing class, which is once a week, a couple of hours, so I don't really have that much sewing done. But that's just because I like to do the knitting instead when I'm at home. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter for me if my projects take a little bit more time. And I also got a zipper for the dress, and they gave me 2 of these fabric Harris tweed labels that I can sew on my projects, which is nice. I think that's all about my my knitting and my sewing, and what's left is my EYF haul. So if you're not interested in the haul, then have a nice time, have a nice evening or morning or whatever it is when you're watching this. And if you are interested in my haul, then let's begin with that. So I already showed these Jamieson and Smith yarns that I got from there. I bought 2, 4, 6, 8 skeins in total, and this was my very last purchase from the marketplace. And then I had ordered some yarn from the lovely Maria of Tuscan Knits, and she brought it to Edinburgh for me so that I didn't have to pay for the postage, which was really nice. We had dinner on the first night with Maria and Lena from Lena Knits podcast, and Maria also has a podcast, Tuscan Knit podcast, which is about knitting and her yarn. And then she also has a separate channel, Sew Old Soul, where she shares about her sewing. And I highly recommend all of those beautiful podcasts. And it was so lovely to meet Maria and also meet up with Lena again. And I hope to see you again soon, both of you. These yarns from Maria are in her fur base, which is 100% superwash merino in fingering weight singles. And this colorway is called Bit of Jam, and this one is Cordelia. And I think that they would also make a lovely fade in some project. I seem to have been drawn to these kinds of colors in Edinburgh. And yeah, I don't really have a plan for these yet. I think they will be a shawl, but which one I don't know yet. And at the moment I don't really have time for these yarns yet. They will be a future project. Then the color scheme continues. This was pretty much the only unplanned purchase that I made at EYF. This is Titus DK in colorways Foggy Morning, which is this mostly natural white with very pale shades of pink, peach, purpley blue in some bits. Very subtle colorway. And then this one is called Stone Chat, and this is like an antique rose, I would say. Gorgeous, gorgeous colors. And I don't have a plan for those yet either. Then my tradition from pretty much all the festivals that I've gone to has been one skein of sock yarn from La Bien-Aimée. And this is her BFL Tough Sock, which is 75 blue-faced Leicester and 25 nylon, and the colorway is called Dusk. And these will be socks for myself, I think, at some stage. Then I wanted to buy a sweater's quantity of caramel wool, if I could find it, and I found Chill Draper's Mohawk is probably the base, and Shell is the colorway, I think. It's this pale pink, which I think might be dyed with avocado. I'm not sure if she uses natural dyes or not, but it reminds me of avocado dyes. It's 100% unregistered NYS caramel wool, and I think NYS doesn't mean New York State. Could be. Hand dyed with love, made from sheep to skein in the northeast. And I bought 4 skeins of these, so the other ones are here behind me. It is not quite as soft as my previous caramel yarn, which was Elsa wool, which is probably the softest yarn that I have ever knit with. But it's still very soft and it will make a gorgeous sweater. And then another sweater quantity I bought was from the Sunday morning event at EYF. The marketplace closed on Saturday, and then on Sunday morning they had an event, Meet the Shepherdess, where mostly local farmers were selling their own yarns, and this one is the beautiful Lammermuir wool, which is not far from the city of Edinburgh, and it is Shetland wool, DK weight, and I also bought 4 skeins of this. Let me check. The shade is called Shalmit. 100 grams per skein, and each skein has 240 meters or 262 yards. Very soft Shetland wool, and they too will become a sweater at some stage. I don't have a specific pattern in mind, but since I've been knitting quite a few sweaters lately, test knitting sweaters, I thought that I would buy sweater quantities in different weights of yarn so that I will have a good stash when if there's a test knit that I'm doing that requires a certain kind of yarn, so that I wouldn't have to go and order something. Then the last purchase that I made at EYF, or the one that I'm going to share, is the Blacker Yarn's new Jacob yarn, which I already had a chance to play with before going to EYF. They sent me some samples to knit on, because I was one of the official podcasters at the Podcaster Lounge, which was sponsored by Blacker Yarns, and they asked the podcasters if we wanted to try their new yarn out, which was going to be launched at EYF. I did, and I really enjoyed knitting with it, and I bought I don't know how many skeins, probably 6 skeins of the undyed natural white, which is the colorway Clay. This is fingering weight. The 4-ply refers to the yarn weight, but it's 2-ply, I think. Yes, 2-ply yarn, as in plies. It's 100% pure new wool from the Jacob breed, and also 3 skeins in, I think it's tealy blue colorway. It is dyed on the brown fleece, I think, or the brown wool that you get. You get 2 different shades of fleece, or they are spotted sheep. They have white fleece with brown spots, if I'm correct, and they are using the different parts of the fleece and different colors of the one fleece to make these different colors and different shades of their dyes. So they have, I actually have the shade card here. So here you can see the natural colors. So the brown and the white are the ones you get from the fleece, and then you can also mix them to get the marled colors. And then all these 4 colors, natural colors, are dyed with red to achieve this ombre set. And then these are dyed with light green or turquoise, and then this set is from the blue dye. And these 2, what would you call them, like a collection of colors, is in their 4-ply yarn, meaning fingering weight, and the reds are for their DK weight yarns. So that's that, and also sweaters quantity. And then I received also some beautiful yarns from my friends. This first gradient set is from my friend Tiziana from Italy. She had dyed 3 different shades of this beautiful pink color, and I am hoping to make a design with these colors, and hopefully I can start working on these in early summer once I have finished a couple of bigger projects. And then finally I received this beautiful skein of sock yarn, BFL and nylon, from Erin, who has the Holland Handmade yarn company, and also her podcast is called Holland Handmade. She lives in the United States. I believe it's in, is it in Michigan? I'm sorry, I forgot where you're from, Erin. But anyway, her yarn is beautiful. Go check out her yarns and her podcast. And I can't wait to meet you again, Erin. I hope that our plans will come true for autumn. So definitely socks one day. I think that's all. That was all of the yarn haul. I also bought this book from EYF, the volume 5 of the interpretations. I shared a little bit about that in my vlog, so go check that out if you haven't already. I have all the interpretations books, and so I just had to get this one as well. I would really like to make Vera's cabled sweater from this, which I already told. This blue one, which she knitted in my local dyer's yarn Knitlops lair, Louhittaren luolas. I think it's DK weight, yes, Väinämöinen DK. So at least I would have easy access to the yarn. And the design is one of my favorites from this book. Oh, so many plans, so little time. Maybe one day. Anyway, I think this is what I have for you this time. Oh, and I wanted to mention I went over to another Finnish podcast, Villapesuohjelma, which is in Finnish. I invited myself into their episode, and we had lovely time filming it last week, and it was just published on YouTube this Friday. So if you speak Finnish, or if you just want to hear us babble in Finnish, even though if you don't understand, go check them out. They live in my area, and it was really nice to film an episode with other people. That's so different than just babbling on your own. And I hope you liked the episode. I actually enjoyed watching it myself, because it was the first time seeing an episode which I hadn't edited myself, so it was interesting to see how it turned out. And we talked about our projects, and I also showed how to do, I don't know what it's called in English. It's a colorwork technique that is called laddering in Finnish, but I don't know if that's what you call it in English. It's the technique that I used for a hat. Just a moment, I will get it. I used it for this hat. And it's a technique that you use to tie in your long floats. And it looks like knit stitches on the wrong side. So I explained how I did that in their podcast. And also Pirjo shared how she knits two-color brioche. She knits both of the colors on the same go, so she doesn't do the same row twice as you would normally do, but she does them a bit like you do two-color color work. But it's two-color brioche, knitting the same row in both colors at the same time. So go check their lovely podcast out and give them some love. Subscribe their channel if you like it, and yeah, I think that's all for now. I hope that I will get better that my cold goes away soon and I will have more energy. And this time this episode was just only about my projects and my yarn. And maybe next time I will show you what springtime looks like here in Finland. Until next time, happy knitting. Bye.